space.
Call the meeting of the Bay County Board of Commissioners to order Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. Commission chambers. Roll call, please.
Fox. Here. Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
Radke. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Herrick.
Make a
like to
motion to excuse Commissioner Herrick.
Support. Discussion? He's probably traveling back from Pennsylvania or spending the night. I don't know if they're going to celebrate or not. I believe they went 3 and 2.
So we're celebrating.
We'll have to verify that. So
3 and 2 or 2 and 2.
But
Either
we'll
way,
find out.
it was a good showing for certain.
Yeah, they do well. Invocation, please.
Did we vote? Did we vote to excuse him?
Yep. We had to vote.
Oh, yeah. Roll call?
No, just do a voice vote. Just regular. Just voice vote.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Sorry. No invocation.
Shall we stand?
Almighty God, we ask that you will guide and give leadership to every member of this Board of Commissioners, and we ask that you will give them knowledge and understanding so that the decisions made today and always will benefit every citizen of this community. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have minutes from June 21st, 2022, July 19th, 2022, and August 9th, 2022.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Citizen input. Anybody wishing to address the board, please step forward.
If there's no one else, I was asked by Supervisor Glenn Rowley of Bangor Township to read a statement. He could not be here. He has appeared before the board in the past and asked if I could read a statement into the record on his behalf. If there's no objection, would that be appropriate?
Right.
Okay, I'll just, on behalf of Supervisor Rowley, I'll read his statement. Mr. Chairman, Mr. and Madam Commissioners, Mr. Executive, last February, I spoke to you regarding the Colquhoun River and the $570,000 earmarked from President Biden's budget to dredge the channel and remove the base of the old railroad bridge. I asked for your consideration of using some of your ARPA funds for that infrastructure. I also asked for the opportunity to discuss the project further. Numerous invitations were sent for meetings with the Army Corps of Engineers. I came before you seeking support, not just for the residents I represent, but all of yours too. Sadly, no progress has been made. In fact, it has gotten much worse, as there has been a personal injury accident sending people to the hospital last month from hitting the abandoned bridge base. The channel has also collapsed to approximately 1/4 of its original size, making it a serious peril for flooding. With 10 major drains going into the river, this is not just an issue for a beautiful Bangor Township, but for the entire county. I have reached out to numerous foundations, and none of them have the resources nor time necessary to secure the $564,300 that is required to satisfy the statutory match of the Water Resource Development Act of 1986. I have been working with Representatives Timmy Beeson and Annette Glenn, but no funding has been secured as of yet. At my last meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers, it was stated we have until the end of August to secure funding, or the earmark from the President of the United States of America's budget will be removed from consideration. The Corps project management team mentioned funding in hand is not necessary, but the commitment to the project would be necessary. I would like to publicly thank Laura Ogar, I didn't read this, and Executive Barsha for attending the meetings and lending their support to the project. I now ask you again for your support. The importance of this project's completion is imperative for the safety and welfare of your residents. Please consider the investment in your community's infrastructure of $564,300 to alleviate the peril of flooding and personal injury on the Colquhoun River. Respectfully submitted, Glenn Rowley, Bangor Township Supervisor. And I'll submit, Mr. Chair, the written version for inclusion perhaps in the minutes.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Any more public comments? Anybody else wishing to come forward? Any more public comments? We'll close public comment. Petitions and Communications, presentations. I think I'll have the clerk read the resolution first. I don't know, Mr. Coonan, that's sort of in your area. I don't know if you wanted to come up with.
And Commissioner Krieger is right.
Krieger, okay, all right. All right.
Okay. By the Bay County Board of Commissioners, whereas the Bay County Board of Commissioners and the Bay County Executive wish to honor the Bangor John Glenn 2021 to 2022 POM team on their achievements beginning with winning the Mid-American Pom-Pom High Kick competition, doing a routine to Pitbull music, cleverly dressed as Pitbull, bald caps and all, and whereas the video of this event went viral and now has 9 million views. Pitbull was so impressed that he shared the video on social media and gifted the team with sweatshirts. Also commenting on their performance and sharing their video were the Rockettes. And whereas in February, the John Glenn Pom team competed in the Mid-American Pom-Pom State Championships and brought home runner-up honors. And whereas, as a result of Mid-American Pom-Pom High Kick honors, the Pom team was invited to send an audition video to America's Got Talent, which resulted in a successful appearance, moving the team forward in the AGT competition. And whereas Bangor John Glenn Pom coach Shelby Putnam led her team, providing support and encouragement and instilling in the squad a sense of fair play and a commitment to strive to be the best they could be, culminating in winning the Mid-American Pom-Pom High Kick competition and placing in the Mid-American Pom-Pom State Championship. And whereas team members Cammie Box, Maren Bergeson, Jessica Foss, Madison Gallen, Brandy Gillespie, Abby Good, Maylee Cox, Justice Lawson, Emma Neiman, Ava Norton, Michaela Olson, Madeline Ron, Lillian Rocha, and Lauren Zerzua competed with great integrity and sportsmanship, honoring themselves, their school, their coach, and parents, and this community with their accomplishments. Therefore, be it resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners and Bay County Executive congratulate the Bangor John Glenn 2021 to 2022 POM team and their coach for their achievements and offer best wishes for success in all future endeavors.
I'll move the resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I guess we'll have the team and their coach come up and
Come on, ladies.
Wow, this is pretty special. Being that I have a daughter in 4 years in cheerleading and all the effort and time that goes into doing what you girls do, I can't tell you how special it is, especially for the parents that I'm sure ran around making sure you guys are where you're supposed to be. And the coach, nice job, very nice job. So on behalf of the county, there's a presentation of the resolution, and Kim, would you like to say a word?
I say this to my grandkids as well. Not many people are playing on Sunday, so have all the fun that you can in extracurricular activity with your pom-pom, but the most important thing is school, because that's going to carry you a whole lot further. So just keep up the good work and make sure you keep it up in school as well.
all I have to say is when they did that high fit, it made him cringe.
We would just like to thank the entire community. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with a really wonderful group of young women, but we couldn't do it without the support of our community, our parents, our school, and I mean, they're great kickers, but they're also very intelligent young women with great GPAs too. So we've got a wonderful group of women, and thank you, Big County, for supporting us. We really appreciate it.
Let's get a picture real quick. Hey, Kim. Can you guys give us a kick?
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have Mr. Chris Pinter, Executive Director of Bay Area Behavioral Health, Community Mental Health Update.
Okay, I have a quick update, less than 5 minutes, promise. So first, I wanted to give you an update on the behavioral health integration bills. This is for about the last 6 years, we've been fighting off some privatization efforts in the Senate on this. And this commission has taken several positions opposing those and supporting a community-based system. And in the information I shared with the commission secretary, there's a map of all the counties, over 60 counties have formally opposed these bills via resolution. There's counties that don't do ceremonial resolutions, or don't do resolutions at all other than for decision-making. So we've gotten three-fourths of the counties have went on record opposing these bills. We should have 100%, but we're getting there. What we've heard is the Senate bills came up with a whip count both in March and in June, both before the budget and after the budget, and they did not have enough to get it off the Senate floor. So it's not gotten out of their own caucus, which is good. We've had good support from our local representatives, including Kevin Daly, and who's currently representing Bay County. And I've made sure I've shared the commission's position and Sheriff Cunningham's position with him on multiple occasions. So I'm friends with some of the folks in his office. So that's good news. The House bills, 4925 through 4920, they've not gotten as much press other than Mr. Barsha brought them up last time I reported in December. Those are the bills written by Mary Whiteford, who's a nurse from Allegan County, who's in the House. And she actually does understand everything, and she does get what we're trying to do to move the system toward point of service and supporting the community and away from an insurance commercial model. So she really gets that, being a practitioner, a nurse. And I just don't know if these bills are going to go anywhere, because I don't know how much support she has in her own caucus to even get it over the Senate. But she's worth watching out for, because she did get some Democratic sponsors when she first introduced it, so she's made some attempts to make it bipartisan. So when September gets here, I'll be looking close to see if there's any conversations between the House and Senate on those bill packages, because they could come up with some kind of one that bridges both and try to get a part of some of this through. So we have to stay vigilant, but I have a lot more confidence in the House process. It's been bipartisan from the beginning. So any questions or on that part? Okay.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
want to mention, I've talked about MAC before, Michigan Association of Counties, been leaning towards the Whiteford bills and against the Senate bills, so I don't think they've changed their position a whole lot.
No, they've been with us every step of the way throughout this the last several years. Mac's been our biggest supporter. We're real appreciative. It's real validating to have them with us. Okay, I'm going to move on to number 2. This was a kind of a surprise. Public Act 146 was passed in the summer. I did share some of the changes to the mental health code that came out of this. I had mentioned to the commission a long time ago, and I don't expect any of you guys to remember, because Mr. Redmond was still here, and I talked to him about it. So this basically amends the mental health code to say that commissions, county commissions, could set up a mental health transportation board. Right now you have a transportation, it's usually a peace officer through the sheriff's department or through the local police or township police. But this would actually allow the commission to supplement their sheriff's department by having private security officers do some mental health transportation. And when I kind of read through to try to get the gist of it, what they're really proposing in the changes in the code, this was Vandenbroek in the Senate. This is really geared toward rural counties who can't afford to pull sheriff deputies off road patrol to do mental health transportation. And that's an issue that we hear over and over again. Not in Bay County, because we've got both the police, Essexville, and we got sheriff. Aranet County is a little more of a challenge with that. So basically what this bill would do would allow, rather than hiring more sheriff deputies, you could create this commission contract with a private security firm. They'd have to be trained to supplement what the deputies do for mental health transportation. They can do pretty much everything that the peace officers can do, with the exception of where the peace officers take people into protective custody. That's because they're not trained, they're not peace officers, even though they're private security. So you still have to have a peace officer serve a petition, take somebody in protective custody, transport somebody in a heightened sense of risk. But you could use this other option to do hospital-to-hospital transfers from our hospital to health source, or other time sheriffs are tied up or used. So it might be something for the county to think about. The big piece on it, though, is going to be Section 172. It says they're setting up a transportation fund in the Treasury, meaning they would reimburse commissions that went down this road for their costs incurred. I mean, just telling you can hire private security is you can do that now. You just deputize them. They're implying that they would start funding this at the state level for rural counties in particular, but for counties that did this. So that's the one to watch for. If they put some appropriations there, then that means they're serious about it. The only downside is Mr. Barsha can tell you what they appropriate this year might not be anything next year. So, but it's something to look at. Maybe have your sheriff look at, see if it's something that might be for Bay County. It may not. It's probably going to come up more for Aranet and some of the rural counties. Any questions on any of that?
Motion to receive would be in order.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
appreciate your
thanks,
time.
Chris.
7 minutes.
Even though I had to talk, follow those girls,
They're much better looking.
Next, we have the audit report, which I guess we might let them go a little more than 7 minutes, but we'll see. From Rehmann Robson, step forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Doug Dieter with Raymond Robson, Jason Weddle. And Raymond did the audit for the county for December 31st, 2021 this year again. And we're here to kind of give you a synopsis or high-level overview of what the audit looked like. So the audit report's 250-some pages, so we tried to condense that a little bit so we weren't running more than 7 minutes. So. I have a PowerPoint. We've just put together some high-level things. Jason's going to run through some of these numbers and information we have here. If there's any questions, please don't hesitate to let us know.
So like Doug had said, in front of you, it looks like you guys have the audit report, which is going to be the big bound book. And then there should also be another stapled letter, which will be our communication to the board, as well as the presentation that you'll see on the screens as well.
There is a reference on each slide of the audit report pages if you want to go look at more detail of what we're talking about.
Yeah. So the first slide we have here just talks about the opinion that we are providing on the financial statements. So the financial statements, the 200-page binder there, all that information in there is the county's information. We audit it and provide an opinion. So we issued an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion we can provide for the county on the financial statements. The next slide here is a high-level overview of the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the county. So in the asset section, which is the funds that you guys have available to pay liabilities and use for future operations of the county, the main portion of those assets is cash and investments, as well as some other receivables. Liabilities, mostly accounts payable and accrued liabilities there. And then once you get down to the bottom section, fund balance, it kind of is basically if the county was to pay off all of their liabilities, what do they have left over to fund future operations? The biggest section of there would be the committed fund balance as well as the unassigned. Committed is committed for budget stabilization, and then the unassigned is really available for whatever the county is deciding they need to use that for, which I believe it's around 28% of last year's expenditures in the general fund. So it's a pretty good unassigned fund balance to have for the county.
Question.
Yeah.
When you talk about unassigned fund balance, and you said it was healthy, what is a target for a county? What's a range that you'd like to see?
Is it?
There's no set range. It's going to vary depending on the entity, depending on what are the future plans for the county. You know, what are they looking to? They've got some projects coming up they want to be able to fund. Is it timing of how they collect their revenues, that type of thing? So it really is going to vary client to client, county to county, and that type of thing. The GFOA, as the Government Finance Officers Association, has put out a general guideline of 15 to 25% of 1 year's expenditures. Okay, but they also qualify that with what I just said. That's just a general guideline. Then you have to look at, okay, you know, are there upcoming outlays the county's going to have that they're trying to set money aside to make sure they have the funds to do that? Is there a timing issue when they collect the revenues and when the expenses are due to be paid and that type of thing? So it really is county specific, and you need to look at what your future, what next year looks like for you, and what maybe a couple years down the road looks like in order to know whether that is the right fund balance for you or not. It's at the top level of the recommendation from the GFOA, but that doesn't mean that it's outside the range. It doesn't mean it's too much. It's all about what is the county looking to spend their funds on in the future. Yes, sir.
Total fund balance, a little over 19.4. I think last year was 17 million. So is this, we're looking at a $2.4 million increase in fund balance this particular year?
That was a little bit less, 1.6. So we've got that on another slide here, about 1.7.
And then is this, any of this attributed to the pandemic and the money that we're getting, ARPA money and all that other?
Sure, some of it is.
Are you going to kind of distinguish what would be a normal budget and what would be money that came through the federal government for ARPA, or is it?
Yeah, we're going to look at federal government. ARPA, I don't believe the county has spent a ton of that as of December 31st, 2021, correct? So you received the cash, but it's sitting in what's called unearned revenue on the balance sheet. It's a liability because you haven't spent it. You can't recognize the revenue until it's spent. So the county will recognize that ARPA revenue as they start spending the funds.
It's not indicated on this particular balance sheet, though, right?
It's in the other liability section.
It's not.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's not in the general fund.
It's not in the general fund,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
It's not in the general fund, it's in a separate fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so moving on here, this is the general fund revenue and transfers in. So we have a kind of a pie chart there to help visualize the different revenue sources that the county has flowing through the general fund. And then towards the bottom, we have a comparison of budget to actual for 2021, and as well as a comparison to 2020. For the most part, those are pretty comparable year to year, and then pretty good in line with the budget as well. The next slide is an overview of general fund expenditures and transfers out. And again, a visualization of what is the county spending its funds on, the greatest being general government as well as public safety. And as Doug had mentioned, actual increase in fund balance for the general fund was about 1.7 million, which is significantly better than what was initially budgeted, or the final budget, which showed the county was expecting to decrease fund balance by around 350,000. So it's great to see that the overall was an increase of 1.6.
So just to add to that, the change in fund balance is a combination of your revenues. So your revenues were about $400,000 under your budget. so that's a negative, right? Because you didn't bring in as much as you thought you were going to. But expenditures were 2.5 million under budget. So again, you didn't spend as much as you did. So the difference between the 2.5 under budget and expenses, yes, and then the under budget revenues is the change that you see here between the negative $354,000 budget to the increase of 1.6 million actual.
But I believe some of that was due to the pandemic, though, with people not working as many hours or... Pardon?
There was CARES Act funding.
I can't hear.
CARES Act.
CARES Act.
Sure.
So this slide is an overview of the balance sheet for the pension trust fund. So no longer talking about the general fund here, this is the pension trust fund. You'll see total assets of $470 million, up from $422 million in 2020. And again, this is as of 12/31/2021. So the next slide here. This is the increases and decreases in that same pension trust fund. So there was contributions to the fund as well as benefit payments being paid out.
So as the little snickering over here, you know, this is based on 12/31/21 when the market was in a pretty good shape. And you can see you got about almost $64 million investment income for 2021. Obviously, things have changed in 2022 now, and that number has come down pretty significantly, I would have to guess. But it's all part of the market fluctuations. And, you know, it's going to go down, it's going to go back up. But this is just a snapshot at one point in time.
The VIBA Trust Fund is the next slide here. So this is the overview of the assets and liabilities within the trust fund there. Again, investments, $93 million up from, total assets, I should say, $94 million up from $80 million in 2021. Again, as of 12/31/2021. So like Doug was saying, it might not be that much right now. The VIBA Trust Fund statement here shows the additions to the trust as well as deductions. It does show deductions, but that's really just the way the accounting has to work in the financial statement. So the payments going out were really just the contributions, the pay-as-you-go payments.
So each fund and each component is making the pay-as-you-go payments on a monthly basis for their retiree health insurance. So funds aren't actually coming out of VIBA Trust because the policy the county has, it has to get to a certain level before benefits are actually paid. But the accounting rules do say that they have to show here in this statement. So there's an offsetting contribution on the employer contribution line for that same amount of payments going out. So funds aren't actually coming out of the VIBA Trust. Just want to make sure that you understood that. It's pay-as-you-go that each fund is making the retiree health insurance premiums on a monthly basis.
And the next slide here is a kind of historical look back of the ERS pension, net pension asset. So that's kind of basically you take the county's total pension liability minus the plan assets, and you would get whether you have a liability or an asset. In the county's case, you guys, at the end of the year, there was an $87 million asset for the pension plan.
And one thing to keep in mind is the statements we just showed you is the total plan, so it includes BABH. What you're seeing here is just the county's portion. The county and the component units portion does not include BABH on this slide and the next slide.
Here is another historical look back for the retiree healthcare OPEB. This information wasn't recorded in the financials prior to 2017, so that's why this data doesn't go back as far as the pension. And again, you guys are contributing to the plan and working on funding that. A lot of places are paying OPEB as they go and don't have any assets really for those things. So it's great to see that you guys have approximately 57% funded in the OPEB. An overview of the federal awards. So for 2021, the county expended approximately $6 million in federal awards. The programs that we tested were the provider relief funds and child support enforcement. So the provider relief funds were through the medical care facility. The single audit, we're working on getting that wrapped up. It's due to the federal clearinghouse at the end of September, and should have no issues meeting that deadline. The next slide here, we just want to kind of touch base on a few upcoming accounting standards that would be in effect. So a big one being leases. So in the past, if you had any sort of like operating leases that maybe you're renting items, the county might not have those recorded as assets and liabilities. This new standard would require the county to record basically a right of use asset and a liability. So no kind of like, if you're renting something long-term, you would no longer just pay rent expense every month. It would just be, you would have an asset and a liability for the rent. There wouldn't really be any change in the county's expenses, it'd just be how it's recorded and shown in the financials. And then the IT-based arrangements kind of pulls basically the same kind of idea there. If you had any IT subscriptions, that those would be shown on the balance sheet as well for GASB 96.
So one thing we're suggesting for both of these standards is the county look at a threshold of recording these. So the county currently has a threshold to record capital assets. I believe it's $5,000 if I remember correctly. We're suggesting that the county implement a policy for these two standards as well, so you don't have to worry about that small copier lease or that small postage machine lease or something like that. So you set a threshold to say anything under, say, $5,000 will not be subject to these new standards, and anything over would be. And it wouldn't be just the annual payments or monthly payments, it'd be the total non-cancelable portion of the lease that you'd have to look at, whether it's over or under by the threshold. So something to think about. This is going to be effective for the county in the year you're in now, so you want to make sure that you're prepared before year ends. And the other part of this is what we found, especially in counties where they've got things kind of, not centralized, things are more decentralized, that there could be leases in other departments that the finance department might not know about. So it's really, you need to start trying to compile what that population looks like. What are all the leases the county has, and get them all the lease agreements, get them all scheduled out to see what it's really going to look like. So it'll be a little bit of work, but you have some time to do that as well. And we're here to help the finance department work through that as they start to progress through it.
Any other questions? Otherwise, a motion to receive.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Take mine.
All right, we have item number 4. Application for appointment as Bay County Representative to Mid-State Health Network Substance Use Disorder Oversight Policy Board.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. You're right.
Ways and Means. Commissioner Powell.
Okay. Resolution number 2022-160, Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Yeah.
Resolution number 2022-161, the Secondary Road Patrol Grant. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-162, the OHSP Traffic Enforcement Grant. I move this resolution. Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-163, the grant award for in-home services, DCW providers from Region 7, Department on Aging. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-164, text to 911 direct integration into dispatch software. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-165, the agreement with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. I move this resolution.
Support?
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-166, the 2023 Medicare Advantage renewal for retirees ages 65 and over. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-167, the general fund payables. I move this resolution.
Support?
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-168, the Bay Metro Support and Services Agreement. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-169, the reallocation of ARPA funding for Bay Future. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-170, the renewal of the adult foster care home lease agreements. I move this resolution.
Support?
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-171, the supplemental MDHHS and MAL funding for the Department of Wellness activities. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And resolution number 2022-172, the purchase of vehicles for the environmental health. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Back to you.
We have Personnel and Human Services, Commissioner Johnson.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll move to resolution number 2022-173, legal secretary vacancies. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-174, vacancies at 911 Central Dispatch Health Department. I move this resolution.
Support?
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution number 2022-175, Office of Criminal Defense Staff Attorney. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right, resolution number 2022-176, payout for sick leave and vacation accrual for Tina Mueller. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And that's all. We have Commissioner Radke doing Board of Commissioners report.
Yes. Resolution number 2022-177, the reports of the county executive. I move to receive.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Received.
Next up, resolution number 2022-178, the ratification of collective bargaining agreement. I move to approve.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I believe that's all. Reports of county officials, county executive.
I don't have much other than, Mr. Chairman, to say that earlier today I signed off on the proposal for the Bay County Medical Care Facility millage request this November. We did ask for budget information, which they have submitted to me, and I'm grateful for that, and we're reviewing their budgetary information. Other than that, I don't have a lot.
Thank you. All right, unfinished business, filling board coordinator vacancy. I don't know.
All right, so as that was a Personnel Human Services, we'll go ahead and take a look. In front of you, or at least submitted to you via email, you had the data that was collected. We've put the position out there, received applicants, everyone had the opportunity to look through all of the information that was received, and then they were asked to go ahead and score their preference for this particular position. Out of respect for the people who applied, there are some who have requested confidentiality. If we were going to have any discussion, I would recommend that we refer to these as candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth. Is there any motion? I mean, I see at this point there's...
I'd like to make a motion that we hire candidate number 1.
Any support?
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll hire candidate number 1. That was easy.
That was easy enough.
Thank you. Any new business? Miscellaneous?
Hold on, I got it.
Yep.
Jim, you were, the letter that you spoke on regarding Bangor and that train bridge. Now, was there money that they needed to get money from the Corps of Engineers and
Yeah, it'd be
do that project?
50-50 match.
Oh, it's a 50-50. And I know he was asking another issue, I think, at the time. Can't remember which one it was.
It actually had to deal with help on the vacant buildings and attorneys.
Yeah, and, just thinking, I'm not quite sure how much, when does he need to know by in order for that?
Well, the end of August, but we had I know Laura's been involved in some of the discussions with the Corps and Glenn, and I joined them on a Zoom meeting last week. And
Actually, there was a
they said as long as there was movement, they had originally told the supervisor by the end of August they would reprogram the money to another project.
Yeah.
And there is a possibility if some state money can be secured or if they can find other partners, Bangor would be the main fiduciary for the match. However, if the state were able to, and there's a possibility, MDOT, because we have 2 state roads that cross the Colquhoun River, we may be able to secure some state support, which would reduce the request from Bay County.
But this is August, though.
Yeah.
So,
The last meeting that we had, it didn't sound like it would expect, if we were making progress and there was a commitment, they didn't indicate that by the last day of August that the money would be redirected that quickly. They've been in discussions with Supervisor Rowley for possibly a year, I guess, and so their patience is wearing thin, but they think it's appropriate expenditure and would result in improvement. So they would like an answer sooner rather than later.
So
But they didn't tell us it'd
this
be
is for ARPA.
the last day of August.
this is for ARPA.
It could be general fund or ARPA.
Okay, and then, if you think about it, it's infrastructure, and Monitor requested some money for, I think, an underground water line under the, and that's infrastructure, and Auburn requested money for a pump station. I'm not sure how much money we have left from our ARPA funds. I don't think it should come from the general fund. To me,
It's getting pretty low.
To me, it's money that if we have ARPA money available, if we can help them, I don't have a problem with all 3 of those projects. But and I'm not quite sure, I'm not sure where's Joel here, I'm not sure, I know we got money allocated, $9 or $10 million for this health fund project. How is that coming along, Joel?
So we've been meeting with a variety of different realty places and organizations over the summer. We've narrowed the choices down to about 2 right now. It's our plan that we would come back in September to provide the board with the full information so that we can move forward with the building project. It was originally set aside budgeted at $9 million, but I believe that about $420,000 were for other projects that have been officially allocated, if I'm correct. No, is it $9 million for the? $9 million plus the 420. So the plan is to come back in September to provide more details on the potential spot or spots and to get the final allocation from the Board of Commissioners at that point.
So it looks like it's going to be a done deal.
It looks like it's going to be a done deal.
Okay, so if we don't have that $9 million, and what do we have left in ARPA funds? I know we were talking about the ice arena, $1.4 million. What do we have left if we go through with the ice arena and this project? Do we have any money left that we can help out any of these infrastructure projects?
Well, I believe it'd be fully allocated, but Shauna, would you want to?
No, I agree. That's, the remainder was the amount in Kristen's request for 1.4 million.
So whatever Kristen requested would be the final, or
Yeah.
all, it would, okay. So we don't have ARPA money available then in order to, I say if you're going to help one, you help all of them, but not just one, because it's infrastructure, and obviously the Bangor one is definitely a dangerous situation. So, okay, it was just information I needed to hear.
Don't,
Krieger, well,
oh, I'm sorry, go
Krieger
ahead.
is first.
You go first.
Yes, hand up first.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Laura, I see that you're here. If I could ask you a couple questions on Bangor. You know, so I get he wants to remove these concrete pillars from a bridge that's been gone for years. And all these years, those pillars have been there, and then we had an incident. So for all these years, we've not had any incidents, and this time we did. And of course, boating on the Cucaulin River and coming off the bay, there may have been circumstances that would have caused a situation with a boat. And that's also a no-wake area. So I don't know all the details on it, and I'm not downplaying the importance of removing these concrete embankments that are in the middle of the river, but, you know, for all the years that they've been there, that, again, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. Also saying that with the Cucaulin River being the way that it is, and with the winds that we have, the maintenance on that entrance coming into the Cucaulin River isn't a one-shot deal. They've had to come back over years, and I think you were involved with the dredging, 3-4 years ago? Is that correct? Am I okay with that?
I have been peripherally involved with that, yes.
So you have $500,000, they're going to pull concrete out, that's a done deal. But then the money they're going to pay to dredge that river isn't a done deal. It's going to happen again, over and over. And so they're going to constantly need funding to be able to keep that opening for boats to come in to recreate. Correct?
Yes, through the chair. The removal of those old concrete abutments for the old railroad crossings was one part of this project for the Cucaulin River. The project that a local group had really kind of pushed for that project, the bulk of that is for flood control. It's deepening the channel, but it's also for flood, it's based on flood control, and that's how they were funded. It was a flood control project, and the funding was allocated to the Corps of Engineers. And so it's a deepening and widening of that channel in particular, as well as then getting those old concrete abutments out, but also, you know, kind of shoring up that mouth of the river so that it would be a little more durable, so that it wasn't going to come in. But you are correct. I mean, that is a natural depositional zone, and they have had sand accumulating there, and that they've had past dredging. projects, and they would need, it's very, very reasonable to anticipate that in the future, they would need to have further dredging of that area.
Okay, and along with what Kim was saying, we have other townships that are looking for funding, which we no longer have through ARPA. And yeah, we have some money in our general fund, but how can you do one project that fits a group of homes and not do the other projects that also affect a group of homes? That's a tough call. So, thank you for your information.
Sure.
Mr. Fox?
Yeah, don't we have, I'm back on ARPA funding, don't we have $300,000 that we have to address or that will come back into the mix from the childcare that we cannot do? And then what is the investment income on these funds as they're sitting in our account? And is that something that could be helpful somewhere?
I believe that you'll be receiving a memo in September relating to the child care fund, or to the intergenerational child care project for your consideration. The investment income on the ARPA funds, I believe, is around $2,000. Because the board had not allocated any funding, it needed to be kept liquid so that it could be deployed at any time. It had been held in a Michigan class pooled investment, so not earning a ton of income, and also in the fixed income environment in which we received it, there was not much investment income to be made at that time.
Mr. Krieger?
Are you all set?
I am, thank you.
Okay, I didn't want to step on you. So, and don't take this personally, Kristen, because I know how important it is for us to stay on top of the equipment at the arena. Heaven forbid that thing should go down. But we do have money in our general fund that if we didn't have ARPA funding and that were to go down, and we needed to replace that equipment, we would then come to the general fund for that money, correct?
That would be the other option.
So what's on the table then would be the possibility of using general fund to make sure that she stays chilled in ice, so that we could look at the possibility of some of these other projects and how they would best serve Bay County. Is that a feasibility? Because I think we all agree they all have a valid request, and that would, I mean, it's a shell game. We got 3 little shells and we're moving stuff around, and which one has the ball in it? And I want us to think about that. I know that the clock's ticking, but you know, the Corps moves slowly. Some of their projects could take 10 years, so I can't see why they wouldn't give Bangor Township, you know, more time, seeing that Bay County is considering the possibility.
Yeah, and based on our conversation, I think they would. And also, I think Supervisor Rowley made a strong case for the Corps that it's not just Bangor Township residents or boaters that would benefit, or the public that could be, you know, have an accident at those the old train crossing columns. But that the Colquhoun River watershed impacts a major portion of Bay County. And so from the standpoint of flood control, you might be able to prevent flooding to far more people than just reside in Bangor or you know, near the mouth of the river. But I guess if, Laura, if you would have a question, if I could, Mr. Chairman. It was even, I think, before my time, which goes back a long time. Why wasn't the railroad company that installed that, why weren't they ever held accountable? Did they go bankrupt? And when they took the train crossing out, they should have also taken out the pilings.
Right.
Because it does represent a danger to the boating public.
Right, and I don't have a lot of answers for that, but that is similar very much, Mr. Barshid, like the pipeline crossings that are still suspended over the Colquhoun River that were left in place, even though those oil pipelines and gas pipelines had been abandoned. But it tends to be that, big industry, and they kind of have been able to walk away from some of those obligations that were in place, but that is something, a good point. I would say that I know, like you had talked about that federal funding, what would probably go a long way for that project to keep that funding was even a letter from the board or the county that says that we're looking or exploring for funding. We support the project, and we're exploring some funding options. And if Bangor can share something like that with the feds, they may be able to retain that funding a little longer for that project instead of it being yanked and move on.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And I think Commissioner Krieger is absolutely right. We both worked with the Corps, me in Congress and you with SOS, on a lot of Corps of Engineers projects. And I, during my time in Congress over 10 years, secured 2 projects for dredging on the Colquhoun River. Well, and one huge $9 million on the Saginaw River. So it is a regular maintenance type of expenditure under WRDA. That's a 5-year, as you know, expenditure program for the Corps of Engineers for infrastructure. So the consensus I had was that they'd like an answer, and perhaps if the board could indicate we're considering our options and we'd like additional time, I think that would suffice. Yeah.
Thank you. I think those 3 projects were probably $800,000 or $900,000 possibly, correct? Right around there. The 3 projects, the Colquhoun, the Monitor,
Auburn.
And the Auburn pump station, I think, was about $900,000.
Yeah.
And Kristen, you were asking for what, $1 million for?
That was the request, yep.
Yeah. So, that's something as well. I mean, let's look at these ARPA funds, and we're putting money into infrastructure. The city's done a lot of money in infrastructure. Some of these places, I don't know how much money they have. Do they have? Maybe we could even contact these other communities and go half and half, and then whatever's left, we could go to the ice arena, because that's very important. Then the rest could be, we've got a budget coming up that you put in whatever dollars you needed to complete that project. Or if it can go, I thought we were talking about it has a lifetime of so many years, and we were about 2 or 3 years away from that. Could it go another year?
Yes, but the compressor, because we'd like to schedule it, like once we get authorization to do the project, we'd like to schedule it 1 to 2 years out, because you're actually down for 6 weeks, so we want to make sure we're down in the right time of the year.
Sure.
So it would, if we were to get authorization for that project, it would be done in a year or 2.
Well, we just got good news today. We got 19 million in our fund balance from 17 million. So we've got, if it wasn't for the ARPA money, like Commissioner Krieger said, we would be using the budget process to complete that project. And I don't have a problem with that. But if we've got some, I don't know how we spend all this, and $750,000 of our dollars are with the community foundation that's just sitting there. And I think if we can do something that can help the community with these ARPA funds, we should. So if you guys wanted to me, at least in my view, if you wanted to discuss with Bangor and with Auburn and Monitor, that we could possibly do something and still fulfill our ice arena compressor system that needs to be done. We got some money. I mean, we've been putting money away, and we got the $9 million. Hopefully that'll come to some fruition. But we still have to agree to that, right? Whatever that is. I haven't seen it. I don't know if anybody's seen it, right?
It's a secret.
But to me, if you can help people, then that's what the ARPA money is for. It's not like we don't have money. We got some money to complete some projects through general fund as well. So something that we can think about.
Do we want a consent or a
Jim?
sense of the commission that we're looking at the bank? I think they would like a letter maybe or something along that line.
Jim had a question.
And the two representatives are
Yeah.
attempting to secure state funding, so conceivably it could be less than than the amount requested if we can somehow partner on the cost of the match.
I think a motion or just a consent that we're looking at it would be in order.
I would make a motion that we have our county exec communicate with Glen Raleigh, with Bangor Township, that the board is reviewing and looking at what options we have to possibly help in the funding of their project.
As well as monitor.
As well as the other townships.
Any support for that?
I'll support that.
Discussion. I have talked to, so it's Auburn, Williams, and their city manager's been bugging me about it every now and then when I go out there. It's a lift station for them, and they do get flooding out there. They get, same as Bangor does too, and water in the basement, which they don't like. And then the other one's a Bangor Metropolitan Water Authority for the line underneath US 10 would be the project.
And possibly, Jim, if you guys discuss it with him, maybe it could be a match, us contributing and them contributing to help them, and would reduce,
Right.
give us more money for.
Make sure they have
The ice
skin in
arena
the
will
game.
get done. It's a matter of where it comes from. We've got a budget process that we can take care
Motion
of.
had support for the motion?
I did.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any other miscellaneous? Mr. Krieger.
Thank you. Laura, seeing that you're there so close to the podium, when we talk about dredging, I'm fortunate that I live in probably one of the best areas on the Saginaw Bay. I see all the boating traffic going out, I see it all coming back, and I've had the pleasure of watching 24/7 a dredging project going out by the island, because obviously they want to make sure that these huge ships that are coming in with our blades for our wind generators that come from China have enough water to come in. That being said, we have a yacht club that sits on the Saginaw River across from Consumers Power that also has a cut that comes in that allows vehicles, boats, sailboats, power boats to be able to get access to the bay. There's a marina and there's also the Bay City Yacht Club. They've been trying to get permission from the Corps of Engineers and Eagle since Christmas. They've jumped through hoops, they've rang bells. Bottom line is we're at the end of summer, they have boats that can't get out and ones that would like to come in can't. I would like to see if you could reach out to both Eagle and the Corps and have them come here so that we can discuss why they're making that organization, the yacht club, who is using their own source of funding to get this dredged out. They are being asked to have samples set in, which they did in the middle of winter, to make sure that they had everything all done to be able to dredge this area out. What's mind-boggling to me is with the amount of material that's being pulled out of the river by the island and dumped into Sludge Island, I am sure isn't being tested. Also, the sediment that's coming into that area where they can't get boats in and out, we already know what's in the soil. So why are they being held responsible financially to let them know it's crap that's coming down the river that's sitting in their area? They shouldn't be responsible. They should be paying them to remove it and have it tested. Something's backwards. So I would like it if we could.
It's very logical.
Yes, well, that's unfortunate. Our bureaucrats that we deal with have no common sense, and they're very illogical. I would like to see a representative from each one be requested to come and discuss the issue, because nobody's doing nothing, and now we're at the end of the season, and I'm sure if we don't push the envelope next year, they won't be able to get boats in and out of there. So if you could help me, I'd really appreciate it.
Through the chair, I would just say that Mr. Barsha did ask me to attend one of those meetings at the yacht club, and I did attend, and I did hear their frustration. And it's actually, as you pointed out, it's actually two issues. One about the testing of the sediment, that we do know what's there, and whether, why every of these individual projects need to be spending $7,000 to $9,000 to add to their project. We do need to kind of raise that issue at the state level in Lansing, but then it's also then the Corps of Engineers on their permitting, and I think that was something that, Jim, you had talked about before, about having a discussion with them, so that would be appropriate.
And I don't want somebody from Bay County to come in and talk to us.
Detroit.
I would like to request someone from Lansing and somebody from Detroit with the Corps. Somebody that might have an ounce of common sense.
Okay, well, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it has been difficult with so many offices of the state government working remotely, trying to get responses out of our local Saginaw Bay District Eagle office has been a challenge for me.
So we need to stop sitting on our hands. We need to push it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura, for
Thanks,
your
and I'll
work
work
on that too.
Right. Thank you.
I had one question for Joel Strauss. We just moved to the back there since we have a case of monkeypox. If he wants to give us an update, if we had any more cases or what we should do.
Monkeypox.
Monkeypox.
Okay. We had one case of monkeypox of a Bay County resident that was confirmed last week. The individual was not, even though he's a resident of Bay County, he has not been in Bay County for, I believe the last 3 weeks. He's recuperating in another state. So there were no close contacts identified as a result. All that being said, it's our first, it's not going to be our last case of monkeypox. We expect that we're going to have more cases of monkeypox. Right now, most of the spread is by males having sex with males, but this is not exclusively a sexually transmitted infection. It really happens with close contact, skin-to-skin contact. Intimate contact with surfaces like bedding and linens and things like that. The average resident really shouldn't worry right now. They should be aware but not worried. It's very much difficult to transmit monkeypox. You really need that close skin-to-skin contact in order for that to happen. Don't worry about going on vacation and sleeping in a motel or anything like that. You're not necessarily gonna catch it from the bedding or the sheets or anything like that. It's really that intimate contact. All that being said, the Bay County Health Department is a regional hub for smallpox vaccine, which is being used to help control the spread of the outbreak. And we were notified last week that we're able to cut the doses and to provide them intradermally instead of intramuscular. As a result, rather than using 5.5 milliliters, we can use 0.1. And then the shots are kind of along the line if you've ever had a TB test. So all that being said, if you are notified as a close contact of someone that has monkeypox, or that you're at high risk due to some of the activities that you've got as an individual, or that you're a healthcare worker that could work in close proximity to someone with monkeypox, we can provide those vaccines immediately.
And if you had smallpox vaccine when you were really young?
So if you had smallpox vaccine when you were really young, what the initial studies have suggested that you do have a fair amount of protection from that initial vaccine. So anybody born before 1972 probably had a smallpox vaccine. If you don't know, if you've got the scar on your arm or on your thigh, that's a smallpox vaccine. Now that, like every other vaccine, they tend to wane over time. And don't think that, well, I've got it when I was 6, I'm safe right now. But it does provide some protection. But if you are a close contact, we highly recommend that you get the vaccine, the new vaccine.
Thank you. Any other questions? I think we're all set. I have a reminder here that Thursday, August 18th, the Bay County Board of Commissioners is hosting the Tri-County event starting at the planetarium at 5 p.m., followed by the meal at the Doubletree. Hope to see you all at the event this Thursday. And there is a veterans event Saturday from 9 to 1. Congressman Kildee and Representative Beeson are hosting it. Fishing, whatever, it's for veterans, I guess, and they can bring their families along too. It's at State Park, the State Park. Any other announcements? Otherwise, a motion, oops, got some other announcements here. 2022 appointments, October, Land Bank Authority, 1 township representative, 3-year term expiring, Ron Campbell. Department of Health and Human Services, Board of Directors, 1 3-year term, Kim Bejic. Someone's department. December, Veterans Affairs Committee, 1 4-year term expiring, Marilyn Lazar. And also December, Department on Aging Advisory Committee, 4 2-year terms expiring, Districts 2, 4, 6, and at large. Do we have any need for closed session?
There is not, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?